Have you ever been so close to finishing a massive, exhausting project only to feel so deeply and utterly depleted that you consider handing the reins over to someone entirely less qualified?
Oh, man. Just to be done with it.
Exactly, just to be done. You know that feeling where you've run the marathon, you are at like mile 25.9,
Yeah.
and your brain just bypasses all your ambition and says, let someone else cross the finish line. I'm taking a nap right here on the pavement.
It is a universal psychological wall. I mean, it's that precise moment where biological and mental exhaustion completely overshadows your initial drive.
Right.
And, the temptation to compromise your own standards becomes almost physically overwhelming.
It really does. So today we are unpacking a single ancient story from the Buddhist birth stories known as the Jataka.
Yeah, specifically, we are diving into Jataka number 23, the Bhojajaniya Jataka.
And before we get into the thick of it, if you are joining us on the Simplified Awakening YouTube channel, please take a second to hit that subscribe button.
Absolutely. And don't forget to like this video and share your valuable comments down below. It really helps us out.
It does, thank you. So, getting back to our mission today, we are exploring this dramatic narrative of a king, a champion knight, and a legendary warhorse.
And we are looking at this not just as, like, a piece of ancient folklore, but as a profound masterclass in extreme perseverance.
Yeah.
It's about the hidden mechanics of compromised efforts and, well, the true heavy cost of finishing what you start.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Our story is set in the ancient city of Banaras during the reign of King Brahmadatta, and our protagonist is the Bodhisatta. But in this specific past life, he is born as a thoroughbred sin horse.
Which is basically the ultimate Destrier.
Yes, the absolute pinnacle of a warhorse. And the source text goes completely out of its way to detail the incredibly specific luxuries of his daily life.
The level of care detailed in the text borders on the obsessive, honestly.
It really does.
It paints a picture of an animal treated with more reverence than most royalty.
Listen to this list of amenities, seriously. He is fed this exquisite 3-year-old rice.
Wow.
And it's not served in a trough, It is served in a golden dish worth 100,000 pieces of money.
100,000 pieces of money for a dish.
For a horse's dish. And the ground of his stall is perfumed with 4 different odors. His stall is draped with crimson curtains, and overhead there is a canopy studded with literal gold stars.
It's just wild.
The walls are decorated with floral garlands, and the whole space is lit by a scented oil lamp that is kept burning perpetually.
Yeah, they spare absolutely no expense.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because on the surface, this reads like the ancient equivalent of, I don't know, a pampered star athlete with a massive contract, flying private and sleeping in cryo chambers.
Right, right.
But we know these texts don't just dwell on luxury for the sake of aesthetics. I have to imagine this isn't about status.
Definitely not.
I think about this like a highly calibrated Formula One engine. You don't put cheap oil in an F1 car because you expect it to perform at a level that would destroy a normal vehicle.
That's a great analogy.
So does this luxury actually symbolize a heavy, terrifying burden of expectation?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is entirely about expectation and preparation. I mean, this level of extreme care represents the immense practical value of a pure, uncompromised nature.
Ah, okay.
The luxury described here isn't decadence. Decadence makes you soft.
Right, it makes you lazy.
Exactly. This is the meticulous, obsessive preparation of an instrument meant for the highest possible purpose.
So the king knows something is coming.
He does. The king is investing unparalleled resources into this Destrier because he knows that when the ultimate crisis arrives, this horse will be the only thing standing between the kingdom and total destruction.
Wow.
The golden dish, the perfumed stall, the continuous light, these are physical manifestations of the incredible weight of responsibility placed upon the Bodhisatta.
He gets the best because he has to endure the worst.
Precisely. He is given the absolute best because he will be required to give everything.
Oh, but all that gold and perfumed rice isn't just a reward, right? It's an upfront payment. And the bill comes due the moment the city's peace is shattered.
The transition in the narrative is intentionally jarring.
Yeah, it's immediate.
We move instantly from the scent of floral garlands to the stark panic of an existential threat.
Out of nowhere, 7 rival kings arrive and completely encompass the city of Benares.
7 entire armies.
They surround it. King Brahmadatta goes into a total panic, so he calls upon his champion knight to handle this seemingly impossible threat.
And the knight surveys the siege and knows immediately that there is only one asset capable of breaking this alliance.
A Bodhisatta.
Exactly. The thoroughbred Destrier. No one else can do it.
So the knight mounts the Destrier, and they ride out into the fray. But what happens next is crucial to understanding the psychology of the text, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Because it isn't a single magical swoop of a sword where the enemies just scatter.
Right. It's not a movie where they win in one epic charge. They ride out and systematically break down the first enemy camp.
And they capture the first rival king alive.
Then they have to reset, face a completely fresh army, and do it again.
Yeah, they break the second camp, capture the second king, then the third.
The fourth, the fifth, and the sixth. They capture 6 of the 7 rival kings alive.
It's exhausting just thinking about it.
Think about how often we celebrate the start of a difficult journey. We love the launch phase, that initial burst of adrenaline when we decide to tackle a massive problem.
Oh, starting is the fun part.
Yeah.
Everyone loves day one.
But the real story here is the grueling, repetitive, agonizing grind of taking down camp after camp.
Yeah.
Adrenaline might get you through the first king, skill gets you through the second and third, but by the 4th, 5th, and 6th, you are dealing with profound biological and psychological depletion.
The text really emphasizes the highly methodical, sequential nature of their success. You have to overcome overwhelming obstacles over and over again while your own resources are just draining away. And this represents the arduous reality of any meaningful life endeavor, whether it's building a company, mastering a complex discipline, or enduring the long path of spiritual enlightenment.
It's never a montage.
No. The reality is rarely a single moment of cinematic triumph. It is a marathon of repeated high-stakes conflicts that wear you down to the bone.
Every time you defeat an obstacle, another fully formed one is waiting for you.
Exactly.
Which is exactly how we hit the biological limit. The physical toll forces a massive crisis in the story.
It really does.
In the process of breaking that 6th camp and capturing the 6th king, the mighty Destrier is grievously wounded. The text explicitly states he is bleeding and prostrate.
He's down.
He is completely laid low, physically broken by the marathon.
And the knight is forced to retreat back to the king's gate with the wounded horse. And here is where the pivotal conflict of the entire story happens.
Yeah, this part is wild.
The knight takes the Destrier's heavy armor off. He looks at this magnificent bleeding animal, and he begins to saddle a hack, which is, a common sorry beast of burden.
Right.
He decides to use this lesser horse to go after the final 7th king.
Now, wait. Let's look at this purely objectively. I want to push back on the philosophy here for a second. Let's look at the scoreboard.
Okay, lay it out.
The knight and the Destrier already captured 6 out of 7 kings. The enemy alliance is functionally shattered.
True.
In any standard military playbook, you do not send a critically wounded apex asset back onto the battlefield if you have reserves, even poor ones. If that Destrier dies, the kingdom has no champion for the next war.
That's a fair point.
Isn't there a massive strategic value in preserving your best asset? Like, why is it such a terrible idea to let a lesser horse, this hack, finish the mop-up work?
Well, on paper, your military logic makes perfect sense. Asset preservation is standard doctrine.
Right.
But what's fascinating here is the Destrier's realization of the psychological and structural mechanics of this specific final task. The Bodhisatta knows with absolute certainty that the hack will fail.
Just because it's a weaker horse?
Not just because it's physically weaker, but because it lacks the uncompromised nature required to break an entrenched enemy.
Oh, I see.
A common beast cannot replicate the commanding presence, the absolute fearlessness, and the momentum of a thoroughbred.
The aura of the Destrier is missing.
Exactly. And here is the cascade of failure the Destrier foresees. If the hack goes out there and falters, the 7th king won't just defeat the hack. The 7th king will instantly realize that Banaras' greatest weapon is out of commission.
Oh, wow. He'll know they're vulnerable.
Exactly. That realization will embolden him. He will rally his remaining forces, he will free the other 6 captive kings, the city will be overrun, and the agonizing, blood-soaked effort of conquering the first 6 camps will be entirely wasted.
So 90% done isn't done at all.
Not at all.
If you fail at the last 10%, the previous 90% unravels completely.
The final step is structurally load-bearing. This is a profound metaphor for human psychology. We get tired. We get wounded by the process of whatever we are trying to achieve. And we reach that 90% mark and say, this is good enough. Let the hack take over.
We compromise our effort right at the finish line.
Because the pain of maintaining our standard feels unbearable. But the Destrier understands that relying on a lesser substitute, biologically and psychologically, unravels the entire foundation of what they just built.
You cannot outsource the final crucial weight of a task to a compromised version of yourself.
You really can't.
And the Destrier refuses to let the mission fail, despite his moral pain. He actually speaks directly to the knight.
Yes, the stanza from the source text captures this incredible defiance so beautifully.
The wounded horse says, quote, "Though prostrate now and pierced with darts I lie, yet still no hack can mash the Destrier, so harness none but me, O charioteer."
It is a stunning moment of resolve.
Yeah.
I mean, notice the self-awareness there.
Yeah.
He is openly acknowledging his broken physical state. Prostrate now and pierced with darts. He knows he is dying.
He's not in denial about it.
Not at all. But he is asserting that his internal nature, his uncompromised standard, even when bleeding out, is vastly superior to the hack at full health.
And the knight actually listens. He sets the wounded horse back on his feet. He binds his wounds.
And then he has to rearm him.
Oh, man. Imagine the agony of putting heavy armor back onto a bleeding, pierced body.
It must have been excruciating.
So they ride out one last time. They break the 7th camp. They capture the 7th king. The mission is officially complete.
They actually pull it off.
They return to the king's gate. And here's where it gets really interesting. Because the horse doesn't just win the war. He dictates the peace.
Right. As he lies dying, he uses his final breaths to establish a moral legacy that completely subverts the standard operating procedure of ancient warfare.
The dying horse tells King Brahmadatta not to slay the 7 captive kings.
Which is huge.
These kings just tried to destroy his home, they caused mass casualties, and they effectively killed the Destrier. The standard historical response here is execution. But the horse says, do not slay them. Bind them by an oath and release them. He tells the king to honor the champion knight, to exercise charity, and to rule his kingdom with absolute justice.
And then the text gives us this incredibly visceral cinematic detail.
As his armor is taken off piecemeal, piece by piece, the horse dies.
Taking the armor off piecemeal is such a powerful image. It signifies that the burden is finally being lifted.
Yeah.
But the removal of the burden is also the end of his life. The tension of the armor was literally holding him together.
That is just heart-wrenching.
But returning to his final words, this is what elevates the narrative from a simple martial victory to a profound spiritual triumph, which is so fitting for a Jataka tale.
Right.
The Destrier's true strength wasn't his ability to take down military camps. It was his moral clarity.
He could have asked for their heads on a platter. I mean, he earned the right to demand vengeance.
He had every right, historically and contextually. But by sparing the 7 kings, he actively prevents a self-perpetuating cycle of violence.
I see.
If King Brahmadatta had executed those 7 kings, their heirs, their generals, or their neighboring allies would have inevitably sought revenge. The kingdom would be locked in generational warfare.
So the Destrier proves that true power lies in restraint.
Exactly. He fought a brutal, agonizing war to establish peace, and he ensured that the peace was built on mercy rather than a temporary bloody suppression.
Okay, let's zoom out and look at the framing device of this entire story, the aftermath. King Brahmadatta actually follows the horse's instructions.
He listens to him.
He gives the noble Destrier a highly respectful cremation. He honors the knight. He releases the rival kings under an oath of non-aggression, just as the horse asked, and he rules his kingdom justly.
It's a complete shift in how the kingdom operates.
We also get the historical identification from the Buddha, revealing who these characters were in their past lives.
Right, which is typical for these stories.
The elder Ananda was King Brahmadatta. The great disciple Sariputta was the champion knight. And the Buddha himself, in a previous life, was the thoroughbred horse, the Bodhisatta.
But the critical piece of context is why the Buddha told this specific story at this specific time.
Yeah, why bring this up?
He told it to encourage a faint-hearted brother, a monk in his order, who had hit that exact psychological wall we talked about at the very beginning of the show.
The 25.9-mile mark.
Exactly. This monk had simply given up. He was exhausted by the rigorous demands of his spiritual practice. He felt he wasn't making progress, and he was ready to quit.
He wanted to saddle the hack.
He absolutely wanted to saddle the hack. And the text tells us that upon hearing this story of the Destrier's ultimate sacrifice and perseverance, this faint-hearted brother was deeply inspired, pushed through his spiritual exhaustion, and achieved erraticship.
So how do we translate this extreme ancient narrative into something practical for a modern life? I mean, most people dealing with burnout aren't fighting 7 armies.
Hopefully not.
They are dealing with endless emails, difficult relationships, or the slow grind of trying to improve themselves.
Well, it synthesizes into a very sharp, very challenging core takeaway about the nature of our own internal standards. When you are worn down by the intense demands of your career, your family responsibilities, or your personal growth, the temptation to let the hack take over is immense.
Yeah.
And, the hack isn't necessarily another person. It is a compromised version of your own effort.
Oh, that's good. It's when you decide to just phone it in.
Exactly. It's the moment you say, I've done enough, I'm just going to phone in the rest. It's lowering your standard at the critical moment because the friction of maintaining your integrity feels like too much to bear.
But this story reminds us that true nobility, true success in whatever you are building, is seeing the task through with your full, uncompromised integrity, even when you feel completely spent.
The Destrier didn't just give his effort. He applied his entire nature to ensure the job was done right. He knew that substituting his standard for a lower one would structurally unravel everything he had already suffered to achieve.
It's the stark realization that the final 10% of the journey often requires 90% of your heart.
That is perfectly said.
You cannot delegate your integrity. You can't hand off your ultimate purpose to a lesser version of yourself just because you are bruised and bleeding. The final lap is where the engine is tested the most.
Precisely. Which brings us to a final and perhaps slightly dangerous implication of this text.
Okay.
The Bodhisatta's ultimate act of perseverance required him to give his very life. He pushed through the pain, but the pain literally killed him as the armor came off.
Right. So, if the ultimate act of noble perseverance requires such a total, fatal sacrifice, how do we, in our own modern lives, distinguish between necessary perseverance and stubborn, toxic self-destruction?
That is the line we have to walk. When is pushing through the pain a virtue that saves the kingdom, and when is it just a tragedy that leaves us broken for no good reason?
That is a heavy, necessary distinction to chew on.
Yeah.
Where's the line between being the noble destrier and just blindly running yourself into the ground?
It's something you really have to figure out for yourself.
We will leave you to ponder that exact question in your own life and your own endeavors. There are so many more fascinating, complex narratives to uncover in these ancient texts.
So many more.
So please stay hooked for our next deep dive into this incredible wisdom. And remember, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to Simplified Awakening, leave a like, and comment below with your thoughts. We'll catch you on the next story.